we mark the birth of the Russian composer Nikolai Andreyevich Rimsky-Korsakov on March 18, 1844, 180 years ago today. Born in the Russian town of Tikhvin, roughly 120 miles or so east of St. Petersburg, Rimsky-Korsakov died at the age of 64 on June 21, 1908, on his estate near the Russian town of Luga, about 85 miles south of St. Petersburg. Advice. A rhetorical question. Is there anyone who doesn't like giving advice? Okay, I'm sure there's someone who doesn't, but frankly, I've yet to meet anyone who isn't prepared to dispense advice at the drop of that proverbial hat. However, receiving advice is an entirely different kettle of mackerel, particularly unsolicited advice, which usually carries with it more than just a whiff of criticism. Truly, when it comes to advice, 'tis better to give than receive. Now, it has been my experience that generic advice in the form of platitudes is, no matter how well intended, typically useless. Honestly, do we really need to be told that? Everything happens for a reason. No, in fact, it doesn't. Forgive and forget. Really. Just be yourself. As opposed to Charlie Manson. Love is the answer. The answer to what? Just figure it out. That's helpful. You need to cheer up and remember how lucky you are. Thanks, that's really helpful. You know, as platitudinous life hacks go, there's no advice just offered that I couldn't happily do without. However, I will be the very first to admit that some generic advice can be of use. Don't eat yellow snow. Okay. For my 4 kids, for example, all of whom were born in a part of California where it never snows, that can actually be useful advice when encountering snow for the very first time. Use sunblock. A classic no-brainer. Never quit your day gig. Best advice of all time. Put on your oxygen mask first. Now, I love this one. I take it to mean that you can't be of any use to anyone unless you've first been of use to yourself. Bend your knees. Oh my goodness, how much pain and suffering could have been avoided if some or most of us had only heeded those 3 words. Don't lick the bowl. Flush it like a normal person. Okay, go ahead and tell me that's not sound advice. Eat whatever you want, and if someone calls you fat, eat them too. With some fava beans and a nice Chianti. And finally, fake it till you make it. Yes, fake it till you make it. Like most kids growing up, I had various assumptions about grown-ups, i.e. adults. Among them was that adults know what they're doing. I've learned from hard personal experience that that is entirely untrue. Adults only know what they're doing, if they ever learn at all, after they've been doing it for decades. Until then, they are apprentices, learning on the job, which are nice ways of saying faking it. Growing up, I had no concept of this. I just assumed that once you got to be a certain age, you actually knew what you were doing. In fact, pretty much every one of us has to fake it till we make it. And so it was as well for Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov. To find out just how the great Russian composer Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov had to fake it till he made it, Join me for my Music History Monday podcast, which can be accessed on all podcast platforms, or enjoy the illustrated full-text ad-free version of this blog and much more on my Patreon channel.